Media today and for a long time has been to desensitize us. Every time I open MSN, there's news reports of death. Whenever I turn on the news, there's news reports of death. There are all these crime shows, violent movies. Everything is to get us used to death, get us desensitized to it. Oh, another day, another person died. And unfortunately, we've been mind programmed and mind controlled to the point where we feel as though death is normal. You know, before, um, in an eternal state, death would be horrifying. But in our state now, death is normal. And what we see is that every trick that Satan used to trick the original humans are being used by man to trick man. We're being taught that death is normal or that we can be our own gods. And instead of us realizing the result of that thought, of that incorrect thought that we can be our own gods, we've gone along with it. And in essence, created a world that is far from perfect, that is filled with death and violence and corruption. But we've convinced ourselves and been subtly programmed to not see that. We've been convinced to compare ourselves to others in order to get our understanding of our reality, because we've been so programmed to see ourselves as our accomplishments, as our material accomplishments, that we see others the same way, so that whether we feel good or bad, as long as we've accomplished more than someone else in this material world, then we must be okay. That's how far we've fallen from our spiritual state, and that's how confused and lost we are within Satan's kingdom. And it's important to realize that if if you don't realize that you're in a fallen world, then you're going to accept more and more hardship, more and more death, and you're just going to become more desensitized because you're going to become more and more filled with evil yourself, to where you can't you can't sense the corruption. It's normal. Violent movies are normal. They don't they don't affect you. Like now, I don't watch TV. I used to, but I don't anymore. And when I turn it on, when I turn the television on, or when I watch a movie from um, every now and then, I don't do that anymore either. But I'm repulsed by the violence, and that's me coming away from my programming, my desensitizing programming, to make me desensitized to violence. Because while I was watching these reality shows, while I was going to see all these violent movies, um, I got to the point where I was pleased with my desensitization. I was pleased that I wasn't, you know, I was hardened. I was strong. I wasn't bothered by the violence. I was a strong, tough person. But now I realize how truly grotesque and uh, how messed up my thinking was, because now it's hard for me to get through a movie. It's hard for me to get through a television show, because they're so they're they're so filled with evil that you feel yourself being affected by it. Whereas if you're desensitized, um, you're almost proud of yourself for being able to watch it and not be affected, or you find that it's a drug and you need more and more of it. Just like if you start with alcohol, you need more and more of it in order to feel that relaxing feeling. So it becomes an addiction. Television becomes an addiction, and we become desensitized to this evil world. And the idea of this world teaching us a lesson has become a joke, because we don't even realize that we're in a corrupt world. And how can God help you see the better way if you've been so heavily programmed that you think this is the only way, and you put it in your mind to achieve all that there is to achieve in a corrupt world? God can't work through you. So realize, if you don't realize anything else, or actually, this should be the first step. So not scratch that. Don't think about not realizing anything else. Your first step should be to realize that this world is fallen, and that it's your responsibility to realize that and to ask God, as through His Son Jesus Christ, to come into your world. He could come into your world through dreams. He could come into your world through coincidences. He can come into your world through your thoughts. But ask God to come into your heart and reveal to you the steps out of a corrupt, fallen world, and He will in His own time.